this easy. I'm going to make this simple for y'all. First thing I'm going to do is tell you the teams in the NFC that are worse than the Cowboys. We're not even going to have to argue about this one because I keep it very, very, very simple. So let's look at the 4 teams that I know the Dallas Cowboys are better than beyond the shadow of a doubt. My Eagles. Yes, it pains me to say it. My Eagles. I'm going to remove my feelings from a factual conversation. The Eagles don't have a quarterback necessarily that they love, and they definitely don't have a coach that's proven better than them. Lions, yeah, their head coach is talking about biting off kneecaps and whatnot, but I don't know if that'll translate to win. So the Cowboys are better than them. The Falcons, they just haven't really been good since that whole 28-3 thing. So the Cowboys are better than them. And then the Carolina Panthers. I like Matt Rule, young head coach. But does Matt Rule like Teddy Bridgewater, his quarterback? Cowboys are better than them. So next, let's look at the teams that the Cowboys are just as good as in the NFC. This is where the debate comes in. Chicago Bears and the Dallas Cowboys. I think that is a coin flip. At the end of the day, if they played each other 10 times, I think it would be 5-5. So they're just as good as them. The Vikings, I think the Vikings typically win 8 games on average, 17-game season. Maybe they'll win 9 this year. But the Cowboys are equivalent to the Vikings and the Giants. I slept on the Giants last year, but I'm awake now. I think the Giants are up and coming. I think they split this year. That's equal. I'm not going to get into a long conversation there. So now, let's look at the teams very simply that we know are better than the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC. Now look, people, this is simple, and you got to be a Cowboys fan if you're going to argue with me. Buccaneers, we know they're better than Cowboys. Saints, we know they're better than the Cowboys. Packers, we know they're better than the Cowboys. Seahawks, even with the disgruntled Russell Wilson, we know they're better than the Cowboys. On the flip side, the LA Rams, they added Matthew Stafford. They already have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Better than the Cowboys. 49ers, even with an injured Jimmy G. But even if Jimmy G gets injured, now they're going to have a solid young quarterback. They're better than the Cowboys. The Cardinals, you could argue with me there, but they added some big names. J.J. Watt, A.J. Green. They already got DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray will take a step better than the Cowboys. And Washington, the team that does not have a mascot, the football team, they were better than the Cowboys last year. Second-year head coach Ron Rivera, I think he will make just as much of a jump as Mike McCarthy. They're better than the Cowboys. So, as I counted, that's 8 teams in the NFC. Now let's get to the AFC. Again, I'm not going to bore y'all with in the AFC who the Cowboys are worse than and all that jazz. I'm only going to tell y'all what AFC teams are better than the Dallas Cowboys. Baltimore Ravens, that's a no-brainer. They got a stud quarterback. They got a head coach that's won Super Bowls, even more recently than Mike McCarthy. The Browns, they are on the up and up. They are better than the Cowboys. The Steelers, even with the declining Ben Roethlisberger. Mike Tomlin, he always wins 8 at a minimum. Better than the Cowboys. Buffalo Bills, what you gonna say about Josh Allen? This dude finished second in the MVP race. Proven quarterback, young head coach that trusts his quarterback. The Titans, the Chiefs, the Colts, all better than the Dallas Cowboys. So again, I'm no mathematician. I'm no math whiz. But I got 8 teams in the NFC that are clearly better than the Cowboys. I got 7 teams in the AFC that are unequivocally better than the Cowboys. That means at best, the Cowboys are about 16th in the NFL. That's how I see it. But I got to go to the desk to see how my guy Bucky Brooks sees it. So, Bucky, do I have the Cowboys too high? Do I have them too low? Or, Bucky, for once in my life, did I get something just right?
No, you didn't get it right. You didn't get it right.
Like, all that work and I didn't get it right?
Like, look.
All that work.
I think John Wooden says, don't confuse activity with achievement. So you did a lot of stuff on the board. It was great. It was fantastic the way you used it. But, I mean, here's the thing. And this is the thing that drives me crazy about power rankings. It is great, but we don't operate in a power rankings world. Here's what happens. The only thing that you have to do to get to the playoffs, the number one way to get to the playoffs is to win your division. Acho, like, here's the thing, because as it relates to Dak Prescott, what you love to bring up is his record. But I look at this record versus the NFC East. Ooh, 19-6. Dominates the NFC East. That is a very dominant record. So that right there puts them as the 4th seed at worst in the NFC. That guarantees a home game. Man, you win a home game, you get some momentum, you go in. Before you know it, you're now in the NFC Championship game. That's what we're talking about. And I know we like to talk about this being a quarterback-driven league. So let's think about the quarterbacks in the mighty NFC East. Ooh, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Jalen Hurts, your guy, with the Eagles. Daniel Jones. Are we really worried about Dak Prescott dealing in a duel against Daniel Jones? So right now, they're already guaranteed to be in the playoffs. So now they're in the playoffs. Now we're dealing with who else is in the conference. And so the Green Bay Packers have some discord because their quarterback is not happy. We don't know what their defense is going to look like because they have a new defensive coordinator. It could completely change the apple cart. We talk about the San Francisco 49ers and how Jimmy Garoppolo might be a little in his feelings because they have a new quarterback that's sitting in the room behind him waiting to take his spot. You talk about the LA Rams and all those things, but it's a lot of change. Brandon Staley left. He is now on the other side of LA dealing with the Chargers. You have Raheem Morris coming in trying to figure out all the new pieces. A new quarterback in Matthew Stafford who doesn't have any playoff wins. And then we go up to the Pacific Northwest with Russell Wilson, who is also trying to figure out if he's a celebrity or a winner. We just don't know. And so as I look at the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys are well positioned to make a major run. At a minimum, I see this as a team with 10 wins or more with just an average defense and Dak Prescott coming back. 10 wins at a minimum for the Cowboys, America's team, as we would call it.
Bucky, you from Dallas?
No, I'm not from Dallas.
It sounds like
No. I'm just saying, I'm just deductive reasoning.
Now let's do this. You want to use a big conjunctive word like deductive reasoning? I'm gonna see that and raise you. I'm gonna see that and raise you mutually exclusive because two things are not mutually exclusive. The Cowboys could make the playoffs and win their division, and the Cowboys could be the 16th best team in the NFL. You could be right, and I could be right. Although, if I'm saying that I'm right. Nonetheless, I'll say it like this, though, Bucky. Why are you so sure the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East? They didn't win the East last year. Washington won the East last year. The Washington football team started 6 games with Dwayne Haskins, a dude that was going, well, he wasn't going to strip clubs, a dude that was losing games and turning up in his house. And they still made it to the playoffs. Washington made it to the playoffs over the Cowboys, and Alex Smith only started 6 games. So I don't even know how you're so convinced, why you're so convinced that the Cowboys are even better than Washington or New York.
Oh, I'm completely convinced because the Washington football team got worse at quarterback with Ryan Fitzpatrick because the number one deciding factor in winning games, the turnover margin.
That's fair.
I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick is coming over there, apples, cheese, whatever turnovers you want to give out, he's giving those up this year for the Washington football team. And then with Daniel Jones, we can't confidently say that Daniel Jones is going to be a high-end quarterback. Yes, they're talking about surrounding him with weapons, but have we seen Daniel Jones play at a high enough level to know that he can get them to the winner's circle? So now I'm back to Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. I look at this offense last year without Leo Collins and Tyron Smith at the edges. When he was playing quarterback, they were averaging over 30 points a game. Zeke Elliott and Amari Cooper were both balling out of control when he's around and available. We saw that. It's different when he is there. So now all we're saying is they are now using their offense to be their best defense. Dan Quinn comes over. We've seen Dan Quinn orchestrate and lead some great defenses. So even if they're just average on defense, we're talking about 6 games versus the NFC East. Okay, let's chalk up 6 wins. So now we got to get 4 more on the schedule to get to 10. Oh, I'm confident in that. I go to Vegas with that. I'm good on that. 10 and in.
Bucky, I got to get your advice because, Bucky, one day I think that this strong grain of hair is going to fade and wither away, Bucky, and I'm going to have to make a decision like you had to make a decision to go bald. But based on this conversation, it's become abundantly clear that you probably held on to your hair a little too long.
Oh, no.
No, because you're an eternal optimist. You're the dude who must clearly think that, oh, the Cowboys, they're just going to get better by happenstance. Even Dak Prescott, the great Dak Prescott, when he's healthy, won 13 games, won 9 games, won 10 games, won 8 games, won 2 games last year and got hurt. So how in God's name are you convinced that they're going to win at least 10? They're not going 6-0 in the NFC East. Not with the Giants this year that are getting better. They're not sweeping the Washington, not with that Washington defense.
19-6. Okay, so they win 5. So 5-1 would be about comparable to what the 19-6 record is. So we get 5. So we start out a head start with 5. And then we have 8 home games. Normally, you're going to win 6 out of those 8 home games if you're good, 7 or more if you're great. And so let's just say with Dak Prescott coming back, and look, he's motivated. They get the tackles back because the offense line, because remember, he played with 2 undrafted free agent tackles out there trying to protect him. He didn't have any bodyguards. Now he get those maulers back. Leo Collins, you have Tyron Smith. Look, you got Zach Martin, who's a Pro Bowl caliber player. The offensive line is better. Even without fixing the defense, this is a team that is much better with Dak Prescott returning. So I am confident that Mike McCarthy has learned from his transgressions of a season ago. He's shaken off the rust. And this right now, I mean, I don't like to do this, but I guarantee that they win 10 or more games next year.
Look, America, I've had friends